Mama?
The film starts as a woman coming home from having had plastic surgery in hospital, and she's all bandaged. And she comes home to her twin boys, with whom she lives in the countryside in a really huge place. And she behaves differently, and so the boys get, after some time, the idea this is not the mother who has returned, but someone else who just acts like being her mother, their mother. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what we also told the twins, who kind of played these roles because they didn't know much further than this basic situation. And we would kind of tell them from one day to the other how the story would develop. Of course, we only could do that because we shot chronologically. And from day to day, they were interested, and we kept them interested how this story would evolve. And yeah, they tried even to ask our crew about how would it end, how is she our mother or is she not our mother. So yeah, we tried to work with the children rather playfully.
How did this production affect them? Because they're like 9 years old, or?
Well, they're 11 and not at all. I mean, her mother is a psychiatrist. She says that the children have like grown up a little during the production. So, of course, because they had to take lots of responsibilities. But I think it didn't affect them in a bad way. They still say it's the best summer they ever had. And all the more violent scenes are, if you shoot this, it's rather technical. So it's not that they are under a lot of emotional pressure all the time, but we try to keep it rather, keep a playful and light atmosphere on the set. So when the children saw the first part of the movie, they weren't allowed to see all of it. When they saw the beginning, they were like really thrilled because they expected the film to be much more boring from the shooting or from what they experienced at the shooting, because it's like repeating stuff over and over again, and you have to seem fresh all the time doing it, but it's rather hard. So they imagined it to be much more boring. Yeah, but they liked the time at the set, I think.
Yes, and we played with them a lot. We played table tennis, we played whatever. In between the scenes, we kind of tried always also, I mean, as directors we have a lot to do, of course, but we always took the time to play with them, even though the whole team was waiting and watching us playing with the children, and we could kind of read their thoughts, how stupid they would think that is, but we knew it's really important to do that, because you cannot, also for, you know, staging the scene, because you cannot tell children, okay, now we turn on the camera and now play as you used to play. You have to kind of create an atmosphere where they would play as natural as it gets. So we try to do that with them, to have this also in front of the camera.
Unprofessional in a way,
yeah.
Because it's
even
not,
they
of
thought
course,
we
it's
are
not professional if 30 people have to wait and we are like running around with the children in the cornfield, throwing a corn at each other. It seems to be stupid, but it's really necessary. Yeah.
Could you tell us a bit about how this film came about? What was it that interested you in this story?
Actually, basic idea came out of television docu-soap. I don't know if you have that in Sweden, but in Austria and in Germany there are these docu-soaps where women who have not so much money, they get like a plastic surgery because, I don't know, they are ashamed of their teeth and their hair and how they look, or so they kind of are away from their families for a month or even more. And then there's this one big magical moment when they come like total operated, they come back to on a stage and the family is waiting her, and it's supposed to be like a really like happy moment, but you also at the same moment you can, if you look at the faces of the children, if there are any, you can see there is an uneasiness, because the first moment is shocking if you see, you know, your mother who looks completely different as she looks to be, even though if she's longing for. And if you know children, you know, even if you only raise your beard or you cut your hair, there's some children who really react kind of very shocked to that because they are not used to that. So this was the
what triggered us the first idea to write the screenplay, which is for us about maybe identity. So who you are. That's the main question of the film: is who are you and what makes you you in a way. What defines your identity? Are you always the same person, or
can you be different in different circumstances?
Yeah, so that's the questions we were interested in.
And also, of course, the film is about, I don't know, motherhood, education, who is in power, when, how to educate children. Is it, you know, we are in modern times, it's not, you know, this autoritaire, what means like authorical way of educating children anymore. So as speaking as a mother, it's like sometimes you are in power, you're not always in power, sometimes are the children in power, and it's kind of a power game. And the question is, how you manage that, because it's a very existential question actually. But that sounds all very clever. In fact, we really wanted to do a very suspenseful film which really gets you and which really gets you physically, and which is a ride for you, and we really wanted the audience to be thrilled and
during the movie, and when the movie is finished, we hope that there are some things left to think about, like the issues we were talking about now. If not, we at least hope people have a good time.
Yes, we're fine with that. Yeah. If they're only kind of
thrilled by the movie,
if they were only fine. Shivering, sweating and bleeding, maybe.
No, don't say.
Yeah.
I think it's so good about horror films because, like, if you say art house films or films, you can watch them in quite a distant way, or like distanced. You watch them and you think about what you're watching all the time, and I think horror films can overcome the distance that there usually is between the screen and the viewer, because they grab you and you're like physically in the film, involved in the film, and that's what's so good about horror films, we think, and what we like about that.
Because to me, if you watch a film very, from distance, it's like theater. And we have a great theater tradition in Vienna, but that's not the way we would like to have, cinema. Because cinema really can get to you, and that's the great power of cinema. Yes. Cinema has.
I mean, you see it with the children, because as I was saying, they knew every scene, they were acting in the film, they knew everything and how it was made, but then they saw just nearly a harmless scene from the beginning, and they were so involved in the film and they were thrilled, and that's the power of cinema. Even if you know how it was made, if you were there, it just gets to you, and that's great.
How come you decided to direct it together?
We know each other like for 15 years, because Severin kind of was the babysitter of my children. So he was interested when he was 14, he was already very interested in film. So I would pay him by renting video cassettes at the video store. And so we kind of would watch the films together and discuss them. We did this like for years, and we kind of found out that we share a vision of film which is very similar, and
in that way it's kind of, because we know we're talking about the same things, it's actually easier than directing alone.
And more fun.
Yeah, of course more fun, but a lot easier, because if you direct alone or write alone, you're like always doubting yourself and your own ideas. If I have an idea and I'm not sure about it, I just ask Veronika and she says immediately yes or no. So it's not this very hard and very long process of like doubting yourself, but it's just like asking.
And it's also, I mean, we trust each other, and if I have an idea and I tell Severin and he says, that's a bullshit idea, I drop it because I know, okay, it's not about ego, it's not about vanity, it's just about making the best film possible, and that's possible for us. And so in this way we trust each other like 100%.
And it's kind of it's an extra chance, because if you like, of course, we are not talking to the actors at the same time, because that's, I don't know, wouldn't make any sense. But like, according to the scene, we would say like, okay, I talk to the children and I talk to them, and then we watch the scene and it doesn't work out, and I go there again, talk again, it doesn't work out again, and so we do it for like 6 times, and then we have the extra chance of saying, okay, now it's Veronika's turn, and she says maybe the same thing, but in completely different words. And maybe that helps, so we have this extra chance to like switch roles, or after some times if it doesn't work out. Actually, it's the same with a great opportunity with twins, because if you do lots of rehearsals with children, it's like mechanical. If they do the same scene 8
over
times,
and over again, yeah.
It's like mechanical and it's dead. But you have to do it like for some times, that they know what the scene's about, and it's kind of, because the script is really dense and really some things must happen. So we had to rehearse, but we let them switch roles for the rehearsals. So they would do it 6 times with switched roles, and then we would do the first take and we would switch back. So they knew the scenes like by heart, but they were doing their part the first time when we rolled the camera. Plus, they wanted to be better than the
other one.
Was
so they had this brother competition.
Yeah. So that's a chance we're never going to have again.
Yes.
I think.
So now you're here at the Stockholm Film Festival for a couple of days. Are there any films in the program that you really would like to see?
It's a great program, but we have there's very little time to see films. But I would want to see really most of the program. I think there are some of these Twilight Zone horror films which I missed in Sitges and didn't see in Toronto, and I really want to see them here. I hope there is time. Yeah.
We're going to see Norway tonight. For example, we haven't seen that, and tomorrow you want.
Yeah, I'll go to the Anhui film, to the Golden Era.
Yeah. So yeah.
Hope to see as many films as possible.